So for this artwork, we are going to try and do some optical art, but we're going to use it in the creation of a landscape. So I'm going to put a line dividing the sky and the ground up. And so that line I just did by choosing the shape tool in Clecky, which is over there on the right hand side, and it looks like a square and a circle. Next, I'm going to decide on where I'm going to put my mountains. So you can see I have a bunch of notes there, and I'm going to leave those notes there because we're going to talk a little bit about color and how to use color to our advantage in making a picture, because we want to think about how the optical effects of color change how we think of and look at the different things that we've created. So I'm creating some zigzaggy mountains. One of the things you have to do when you're creating your mountains and things is to make sure that you don't have any gaps of color area. So for instance, you see that gap that I just made really large here at the end of my mountain. I want to make sure things like that don't happen because I don't want my mountain to get color outside of it. So on that one, I'm going to go ahead and use our second group of ideas here using analogous color. And I'm going to use analogous color on the mountains. I'm going to color them all blue, but I'm going to move it from blue all the way over to purple. So I'll start up here with my kind of tealish blue. Do that first one with the teal blue as I select my bucket, my paint fill bucket. And then I do the next one a little bit darker blue, next one darker blue, and finally ending up in purple. And so you can see how that moves that color across and might create a bit of an optical effect. The next thing I want to do is to create buildings. So this time I'm going to use my shape tool again, and I'm going to make some square buildings, and I'm going to start my buildings out with whatever color I left off with earlier. And I'm going to try and make my buildings basically the different colors as well, maybe going kind of in an opposite direction, and see what happens as they intersect with one another. I kind of like that effect there. Now, after I've done my buildings, I'm going to switch up the colors for the windows of the buildings. And here I have to kind of step back and look at my opposite colors. So I have yellow versus purple. Is there a purple one there? Yes, there is. So I'm going to choose yellow, and I'm going to put some yellow windows inside that purple one. And your windows can be square windows, or you can do the oval circle generating tool. Now, this next one is still a little bit purple, but it's on the other side of it. So I'm going to check out what would be the opposite of this kind of bluish purple. So I'm going to bring my yellow over to the orangish side, and I'm going to put in some more orange windows. And you can make those windows whatever size you like and however long you want them to be. Think of these as very artistic and artful buildings. Next one we have is blue, and I can see that blue and orange are very obvious choices here for opposites. So once again, I can do my orange inside of that blue. And you could even switch up your windows and make square and oval windows in there. The next one I have is kind of a greenish blue. And so the opposite here would be in the closer to the redder area of orange. So I'm going to try that out and then put those in there. And that one just happened to be very, very high contrast, which is something I kind of enjoy there. The last thing we're going to do is try out some roads. And with roads, when you're doing a perspective drawing, it's kind of fun to imagine the roads as coming toward us at the bottom. And we're going to make those roads into a shape, which is a triangle, or actually a trapezoid because it's got that flat top there. And we want to have those roads lead to the buildings, but still become larger at the bottom of our screen and smaller at the top of our screen. So after I've got a couple of those started in, I'm going to do some coloring inside of them. And I want the coloring to become part of the idea of using optical effects. So this time I'm going to once again look over at my ideas here with color, and I'm going to use analogous color, which is also known as side-by-side color. So I'm going to start with the color that I already have, which is that kind of orangish color. And I'm going to fill that in on the first one. And then the next one, I'm not going to fill it in until I've changed the color slightly. And I keep, whoops, looks like I had an escapee here. So I need to figure out where that escaped from, probably from the bottom there. And so if I go back very quickly to my line tool and close off that bottom piece there, and now I can go back to my color fill and fill that in, and that worked. And I just keep going, changing those colors. Now I'm going to go back in and continue changing my colors, but this time I'm going to try and make a color effect between each of the roads. And that's going to really up that whole idea of doing an optical effect here. So I'm going to stay with green, but now I'm bringing the green all the way over to the red here, which is going to increase that optical effect. And we'll see what happens as I go along with the other ones into the blue. So that's the general idea. You can decorate all parts of your picture this way and just try to be experimental and have fun with creating optical effects by using those two tools and the idea of opposite color and side-by-side color, also known as analogous color.